Well, hello, hello. This is Android Faithful, your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps in the wonderful world of Android. Some of us might be at home, some of us might be away in España, but we are here for you. I am Huyen Twitdow.
And I am Ron Richards. Hello, Win. Good to see you.
Hi, Ron.
It's just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
I got to do just a me and Jason show a couple of weeks ago when you were out and Mishaal was out, and now we find ourselves in a world where both Mishaal and Jason are in Barcelona.
Eating jamon and
enjoying the jamon and enjoying all the wonderful things about Mobile World Congress that's happening in Barcelona right now. The Lollapalooza of mobile tech, as it were. I did hear Jason was texting me from Barcelona. And he was telling me how great it is and how awesome it is to finally be there in person. And he's met a bunch of people there who know him and knew the show. And so it felt very affirming. And so, so very happy for
I love it. Thank you everyone who said hi to Jason and to listen to the show. So yes, that's awesome. I'm so jazzed that Jason got to go too. And I'm sure, did Mishaal say that he actually might have had some jamon for realsies this time?
He did send it. So unfortunately, at the time we're recording, we've not received any videos of Jason and or Mishaal imbibing on the jamon. Mishaal did send a photo of a jamon topped pizza that he had. He wasn't sure if it was if that counted, and of course it counts. Oh my God, enjoy the ham where you can. But we are going to hear from Jason and Mishaal though, because anybody who if you're following this stuff, last week's show was a ton of hardware. This week's show is going to be a ton of hardware, and we've actually got Jason hands-on with the Nothing 3A and the Pro from the new Nothing announcement that happened earlier today. And then we've also got a video of Mishaal hands-on with the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. And then also Jason sent in a video from Barcelona and Mobile World Congress where he got hands-on with that TCL 60 NextPaper phone. Remember that one? Yeah. So so you'll hear from Jason and Mishaal on this episode, so don't worry about that. But yeah, for now, so we're recording this in advance. So this isn't live to our normal live stream viewers. We'll be back live next week, next Tuesday on March 11th, I believe, with the whole gang, and we'll be back live again. But we want to make sure you got the show out and we're able to enjoy it. So why don't we get into the fun? Why don't we?
Let's do it.
Because not only is there so much going on in the world of Android hardware, but of course, Google's going to come in and do their March Android feature drop and Pixel drop. The news on that came out a little earlier today. And we've got a whole bunch of new stuff coming for Android users that are into these new features. A big one that we've heard, I know we've heard Mishaal talk about it in some of his, kind of APK teardown and stuff like that. But the AI-powered scam detection in Google Messages is starting to come out now in March, which is pretty cool, which will basically allow somebody, if you've probably got them, I've gotten them, where somebody writes in and like, hey, are you coming to dinner?
Yeah.
And you don't recognize the number. You don't recognize who it is. It's funny because a lot of people, like here in the example that Google provided, there's actually a conversation where someone's like, hi, is this Mary? And someone wrote back, sorry, this isn't her. And they say, apologies. Word of advice, everyone, do not reply to these messages.
Yeah.
Because most of the time they are phishing to see if you're a real person, if the number is active. So
absolutely.
So the best rule of thumb, if you don't recognize the number, do not respond. But now Android will help you detect that a little more with Google Messages, which is nice. They've also got live location sharing in the Find My Device network. So when you still have your Find My Device tags and things like that, right?
I do. They're not working.
Oh, okay. Well, if you can get them back working again, you'll be able to see a live feed of a real location of. You can share them with your partner or whoever else you might want to. Yeah. So so it's pretty cool. So real time location is always pretty powerful, I think. Right.
100%. I use it all the time with my husband and my sister, and with friends when we're meeting places like here or when we're traveling. So can't wait.
And then we've seen we've been talking about the expansion of Android Auto, allowing more apps to be used in cars. And now this expands to games. So they're going to, Android Auto users are going to be able to get games like Farm Hero Saga, Candy Crush Soda Saga, Angry Birds 2, and beach buggy racing. You can play these on your screen in your car. I don't know how I feel about this because I feel like I know we complained about the limited access in Android Auto because you're driving and you should focus on it. And I'm sure, and I know they have protections while the car's moving and can't do this and all stuff like that. But it just seems weird to like do this stuff in a car. I don't know.
I mean, we have in our EV we have games, and we do not. I mean, the car won't let us actually play them, I believe, while we're driving. But I have to admit, there's some times where, like, for example, I drove my husband to the DMV, and I was waiting. DMV wait times. So I played some. What did I play? It wasn't Sudoku. It was something. Or 2024. Is that the one?
Okay.
2048. Whatever. I think it's good for rest times, but the amount that we've played games is like nothing. Is like nothing. So I see what you're saying. It's like, do you really need it? It just feels like a nice. Oh, isn't this a cute headline that we're providing you all these games? Whether people actually play them and should play them is a whole different matter.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't do it while you're driving.
Please no.
So, yeah.
Please no.
Additionally, they've got some more shopping in Chrome tools that are coming out. Basically giving you some the ability to track products similar to the way you can track with like Google Flights and things like that. You can see here in the demo, they're showing, you see a snowboard that you want to buy online. You can choose to track it and they'll show you the price history over time. So you know whether, if it looks like, oh, this is a higher price than it was a month ago, maybe I'll wait a little or whatever. And you could tell it to, let me know when the price gets to this amount, which, kind of helps, for people, doing your shopping in Chrome on Android. So that's the Android feature drop. So some cool stuff in there. And then in addition, they have the March Pixel drop. Which I went ahead and our little graphic over on AndroidFaithful.com. I made little bug droids on the playground using their fold, taking pictures of friends. But yeah, so over on the Pixel drop, continuing the scam protection that's available to all Android users and messages. Google's new AI-powered scam detection this is the real-time scam detection on phone calls feature that I believe Mishaal has talked about previously in kind of his previews that we talked about. So you could be on a call, someone could call you, you might not recognize the number. Android users will now be able to do it in messages. Pixel users can do it in real time on a call themselves. A little screen comes up and as you're on the call based on conversational patterns or things like that that Google has learned from scammers. You get a little window on your screen that says this is a likely scam, suspicious activity has been detected, and they give you a big button to end the call immediately. Which for people who like senior citizens or like people who, or whatever in the risk, group for scammers, this could be super helpful. So if you're on a Pixel 9 in the US, the phone will alert you during the call if it happens. For Pixel 6 and newer devices, you'll get those warnings on text conversations. So the voice thing is only on Pixel 9. You're also going to be able to get, if you are a content creator, and you're live streaming from your phone or creating content on your phone, they now will allow you to connect your phone to an external camera, or another Pixel phone if you have a Pixel 6 or higher, and you can stream from multiple cameras simultaneously. Which is pretty cool. So on the live stream window, you see there's a little toolbox where you can choose where the video source is coming from, whether it's another Pixel device or a GoPro camera, which if you're a content creator, I imagine that's going to be pretty attractive.
Nice.
And that works on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. So, which is pretty cool. But the big thing I was excited about the Pixel drop that my kids are excited for, Pixel Studio finally will allow you to generate images using humans. When I don't know if you played with Pixel Studio at all, but have you run into this where it won't allow you to make people?
No, I did play around with it, but I actually was specifically not making people at the time, so I was not aware of the limitation, though it makes sense. But
yeah, a lot of times I'll ask my kids and I will play a Pixel Studio and they'll say make someone walking in a field of poop. And Pixel will say, sorry, I can't make people, and so you've got to whatever. Now Pixel Studio will allow you to make images of people. Here, the example, they have a woman playing basketball in the park, and it makes kind of like an animation version of a woman playing basketball in the park. This could be good or bad. We'll see what the results of that is, but Pixel Studio is fun. I like it.
Have you tried the poop field yet?
There have been a lot. I hate to admit, but there have been a lot of Gen AI poop images made by my kids. I think the latest was Sonic the Hedgehog in a bouncy house made of poop. And what it did was it just made a bouncy house in the shape of the poop emoji, which I thought was a good, like it's not actually poop. It just, yeah. So, but
Nice.
yeah. These are 6-year-olds' imaginations are limited to. But so some other additional features that are coming out. The Pixel AI experience is expanding to more regions and languages. So users in Japan are now going to get Pixel screenshots and Pixel Studio and AI weather reports and AI powered summaries in the Recorder app. German Pixel 9 users are getting Pixel screenshots, Pixel Studio, and the AI weather reports, which is nice. They're expanding their satellite connectivity. So the satellite SOS feature that we all know, that we interviewed the folks behind that technology last year. Mishaal and I had a great conversation with them. The satellite SOS is now going to be available in Europe, Middle East, Africa, Canada, Hawaii, and Alaska for Pixel 9 users. Verizon users that have a Pixel 9 can now text people over a satellite when you're not connected to the network. And T-Mobile users will get the similar satellite messaging plus the ability to text 911 in emergency, which is great. So some more updates to Pixel screenshots, specifically making collections. So it will automatically suggest screenshots to add to a collection. So if you're taking lots of screenshots of home improvement stuff and have a collection of home improvement, it will say, add this there. And so that makes it that much easier. And when Pixel Fold enhancements, the dual screen feature now supports video recording. So you can use the outer screen to monitor what's being captured. And on the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, dual screen now works with AdMe, making group shots easier. So
nice, very nice,
very nice. And some more updates with Gemini. And then Pixel Watch is also getting a bunch of updates in this drop. This is a meaty drop. They announced already last week, actually, the loss of pulse detection.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw this one, but they got US FDA clearance and now available on Pixel Watch 3 so that if you lose your pulse, the watch will detect it and automatically prompt a call to emergency services to help save your life if you're unresponsive, which is amazing. So this was announced last year, and with the Pixel Watch 3 in the EU, it's available in 14 countries, and now at the end of March, the US will get it, which is pretty awesome. They've also got menstrual period tracking
awesome.
for the ladies.
Love
it. Improved step counting, an auto bedtime mode that will detect when you fall asleep. And some enhanced audio controls. So there's, a lot of cool stuff coming. All the details are over on AndroidFaithful.com, but this is a lot of stuff in this Pixel drop. I feel like we haven't gotten a meaty Pixel drop like this in a while, though. So, which is good.
It's a lot. Yes, which is great. Not complaining. Very happy to have things. And exactly. Amidst all our Pixel devices,
they are bagging out features like it's exhausting. But I guess that's a good way to be. So. All right, well, moving on to Samsung.
Yeah, well, if you are waiting for One UI 7 to drop, it's April. It's latest update to One UI 7. You do have to wait a little bit, and depending on what phone you have, you might have to wait a little bit longer. So if you are waiting for that One UI 7, so again, like it depends on like what model phone you have. You might be waiting until April 18th if you have any of the Galaxy S24 series, so the S24, S24 Plus, and the Ultra, as well as the S24 FE. And if you have a foldable, the previous generation of foldables, or I guess the current generation, since we haven't seen the 7s yet, but the Z Flip 6, Z Fold 6 will also be getting One UI 7 on April 18th. Now, basically, as if you have the older that your Samsung series gets from here, the little bit later that you're going to have to wait to get One UI 7. So the S23s, as well as the 5 series of foldables, as well as the A54 will get One UI 7 on April 25th. If you have the Galaxy S23 FE, the S22 series, or the 4 series of flips, or the Galaxy A34, A33, or A53, you're going to wait till May 16th. And if you have the Galaxy S21, S21 Plus, S21 Ultra, or the 3 series of flips and folds, you're going to wait till May 23rd. So bottom line is, if you were somewhere between 24 and 21, flips and folds 6 and 3, you're gonna get One UI 7 by the latest the end of May. We'll just say it that way because it's really segmented. It makes sense, they have to roll it out. They have to kind of make sure that support is, that the update is properly supported in all these different categories of devices. So it makes sense. But if it's confusing, by May 23rd, if you ain't got it yet, that's when we start complaining. Cool.
Well, yeah. I mean, this rollout is never easy. God, I mean, how many devices do you think between all of those models are out there? Millions of devices.
So many.
Yeah.
So many.
So they can't do it all at once. So knowing that between mid-April and late May, by the end of May, everyone with a Samsung phone, a modern Samsung phone from S21 or higher, will have One UI 7, which is a pretty big feat there.
Pretty awesome. So
yeah. All right, so you Samsung users, look out for that. All right, so this next story, when I was excited to talk about, because actually a friend of the show, Burke, our good buddy Burke from Twit, shared this with me. So the New York City Transit Authority, did you see this already? Or?
I did. I talked about it with Tom on Friday.
Oh, okay, great. So yeah,
on DTS Briefs, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't hear that, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But so the New York City Transit system in the subway is using Google Pixels to listen for track defects. So they're using sensors and AI and pixels as the main devices to ride on subway cars and to detect problems on the line. Which is fascinating. So, Huyen, what did you and Tom talk about in regards to this? What were your thoughts about it?
Yeah, so so it's kind of a proof of concept, but I don't know, and we don't know exactly how they mounted the pixels onto the subway cars. Tom and I both agreed that the most funny and interesting thing would be if they literally just taped it to the side of the subway cars. But they did not. I think we just assumed they probably, but so the thing is, it's actually listening to the track noises and using AI. And again, I think we both agree that this is a wonderful use of AI where the phone actually will listen to the track noises and use like models that have been specifically trained to kind of associate certain sounds with certain defects. And it was actually really accurate. I think the AI model, when listening to these kind of recorded track noises, had like an insanely good accuracy rate of detecting defects. I think like 90%, 91%, maybe even higher. And so that's basically the AI will listen, detect defects, and then they still have a human inspector come back in and kind of like, obviously when they kind of figure out, oh, hey, there's like a defect on this track at this section, they'll still have a human inspector go in. And so that kind of correlation between what the inspector sees and what the AI sees was like really high, 90%. Whereas if they had a human listening to the sound files, I think the accuracy went down to like 80%. Yeah. So it's a really good example of how AI can be a tool and just a layer in the stack of things like safety and maintenance. Obviously, they wouldn't actually use pixels in the real deal if they actually kind of go forward with the system. They would use more customized customized hardware,
like a specific accelerometer kind of. But you think about it. When you think about that kind of technology, it is a low-cost solution, right? If you grab a couple of phones and you run the software on it, for those who have never been to New York or aren't familiar with the New York subway system, it is immense. It is over 665 miles of track, right? And so the human's ability to analyze every bit of track, every foot of track to look for defects it would be impossible, right? Especially, as someone who rides the subway quite a lot, there's nothing worse than when the subway slows down and you see the lights on and the guys in the jackets and they're doing work on the, whatever, because it's going to take you longer to get where you need to go. If you could have the system, the subway cars themselves have this device and the software be running and automatically looking for issues, that improves safety, like God forbid, derailments and other problems and stuff like that. It could help maintenance planning, this section in Brooklyn needs to get attention. It's cool. And I like that it's pixels and not iPhones. So
yeah. And I think is a credit to how powerful the onboard hardware of the Pixels can be. I mean, obviously we know it's a flagship phone, but just the fact that it could do something like this is really cool, just out of the box. So it's really cool. And again, if you happen to be on the train in New York and you see a Pixel like duct tape to the side, I don't know, send us a picture. Like, I don't know, like write in. I just need to know if they actually, I would love to find out that they actually did tape it to the side. Yeah. Probably not, but that would be awesome.
Oh gosh. Well, I thought that was cool. Anyways, I see, Pixels in the not right? So,
absolutely. Not how we normally expect to see them in the wild, but hey, anything counts. Anything counts. Well, we wouldn't be able to bring you wonderful stories like this without the support of our patrons. And this is the time in the show where we do our weekly patron pick. So every Monday, we pick 3 stories and we allow our lovely patrons to vote on them. And whichever article is the winningest, we talk about. And not only that, but to go along with our patron picks, we ask anyone in our audience to submit a hero image, an AI generated bug droid, and this week's is absolutely lovely. This is by frequent contributor Bob Rissler, and this one's absolutely lovely. We have a astronaut droid sitting on the moon on a rock reading the Android news, because even when you're in space, you got to know what's going on in the world of Android.
I do like how this one has like a little kind of like Tron lighting on the neck mouth spot, so very, very cool. Good job, Bob.
Yeah, I would totally buy this astronaut figurine 100% if this was a thing. So the 3 stories that we had today, in order of least winningest to most winningest, 12% of you wanted to hear about YouTube celebrating 1 billion monthly podcast users on YouTube. I wish this one had won, because I always like to hear, Ron, what you have to say about podcasts on YouTube. But unfortunately, we don't get to hear that today.
Total BS.
Okay, cool. On. All right, cool. At least we got that. Yay. Thank you, Ron.
I'm sorry, everyone in the audience, if you or anyone listens to podcasts on YouTube Music or YouTube, let me know, because I don't know anyone who does. So anyway, that's all. I'll leave it at that.
Sorry, I just made a mistake. That was the second winningest one. My bad. That had 12%. Sorry. My bad. The 10% one, the actual least winningest one, was a story about how the Moto Razr Plus 2024 and Moto Edge 50 Ultra can now unlock BMWs with just a tap. That is really cool. Yeah. But I suppose that the intersection of Motorola users and BMW drivers might be a little bit small in our audience. Totally okay. Now, what we are going to talk about, though, is a first look at a powerful new AI feature coming to Google Translate. So this is actually in, I think, the latest version of Google Translate technically, but they might be like A/B testing it or something. So you might not necessarily get it even if you're on the latest version. But what they're going to do is add some additional UI and basically AIify, chatbotify up your translations in a good way. So this is going to be a core feature. Once you kind of have this feature enabled for you, you're going to see when you ask for translation. So whatever you want translated, say you need to ask, I don't know, where the closest vegan restaurant is in Tokyo. I don't know, for some reason that's an example that comes to mind. Once you put in that translation and you get the initial translation from Google Translate, you will see a ask a follow-up button at the bottom in very Gemini-y, like gradient shininess. And if you click that button, you will get AI-powered additional options. So these are really interesting. So some of the things that this new feature will provide is translation context. So it will, and this is kind of in the vein of a lot of what models are doing recently, where they're kind of showing you like the chain of thought, the reasoning. Like a lot of models are adding that now, just so that you can see kind of like how different models come to the answer they give you. Well, that sounds kind of like what they're going to be doing here in Google Translate. It just provides you additional translation of how that translation was generated, and also explains nuances in the translation process, which I think will be really helpful. Something that is really cool also is being able to customize the tone and styles. And we see this a lot with LLMs and how they generate content, right? Is that you can also ask them to iterate on that and give you different tones, different styles. Well, you can do that now with translations. And that is actually really important, right? Because in certain situations, you might want to use formal and casual tone. As someone who's a Japanese learner, this is very integral to learning the language, actually, knowing when to do formal and when to do informal. And a lot of times translation will just do formal, but that's not always what you want. You can actually ask it to simplify things, simplify the translation, make it less wordy, or make it more casual. It can offer you alternative translations. It can rephrase things. And something also additionally interesting, if it works well, is regional variance, because of course most countries have dialects and accents, of course. So there could be options there for you to kind of sound more like a local. It will also provide you, it already does provide you often pronunciation and pronunciation of the phrase, which will allow you to help you actually say it in person. And you can also, though, give thumbs up and thumbs down for quality feedback, which is really important. I do think that as much as Google Translate is awesome, again, as someone who's like a language learner and kind of like intermediate in the language I'm learning, Google Translate sometimes kind of misses things. So it's good to have that like kind of up-down feedback will just help train the models to make them even better. And you will also get, on top of all of these other features, cultural and linguistic insights, which is really cool. A lot of times, of course, when we're speaking languages, the way we say something might depend on, like, or there might be like cultural aspects rather to what you're saying, or kind of things that you need to understand about the culture that influence how you phrase something or express something in a certain language. Where you're going to get that cultural notes, grammar explanations for you learners, and also, again, and that's it. That's a lot, though. Not saying that's it. That's a lot. So, yeah, I don't know, just a lot coming, and LLM powered. I mean,
again, going back to the Wired story about the subway.
Yeah.
This is the case of like AI, making a task, making something, doing AI for good, I guess, right? Because if you're in another country and you don't speak the language, it's one thing to say, how do you get to wherever? And any conversation you have, it's never limited to one question, right? Any conversation, there's always a follow-up, or there's always a area of misunderstanding, or what did they mean by that, or whatever. So having the AI there, having Google AI in Google Translate, listen to the conversation and suggest follow-ups or ask for more context or whatever it might be. I don't see how this is anything but like a way to make traveling that much easier, right? Like that is, that's, or interacting with other people in other languages. It's just whether or not, I mean, have you used Google Translate in the wild in this way, like in Japan?
I have a lot.
Okay.
I use it like pretty much every day, whether it's for like classes, like even, and yeah, I use it all the time for translating, both like kind of using like the Lensy feature to just literally translate signs, but also to like, okay, I have an idea. I'm not quite sure how to say it. Let me type it into Google Translate and see what it tells me, and even actually for pronunciation, which is, so I use it all the time. I do admit though that so strictly as it is right now, it's a great tool. It's not perfect, especially for languages like Japanese, where if you're an English speaker, there's certain languages that are a bit closer. Japanese, other maybe more Indo-Asian languages, and maybe other languages that I'm not familiar with, have a little bit of a hard time. You'll get your point across, but it sounds weird. So I'm a little bit hesitant because it's still extremely useful, but it's not perfect, right? It's not, I wouldn't give it as much trust as I would give it, say, a Spanish or French translation, since those are a bit closer to my native language. But I think it will help me actually to have all this context, because then as someone who knows a little bit, I can kind of guide Google a little better. If I don't, if I'm not really sure about what it's telling me, I can be like, well, I can, again, as you said, I can follow up, maybe tailor it to what I need. And if I have some explainers, which hopefully are accurate, it'll help me maybe figure out maybe if there is a miscommunication or a little bit of loss in translation. I can figure out what's going on, maybe try to, work through it. So I'm excited for it. I really, really am. I do use it constantly when I'm traveling.
That's why I asked, because I haven't traveled abroad since this has been available. I hope to do so in the future, and like there would be a little performance anxiety on my side of like, because you stick out like a sore thumb if you're walking around with your phone and like holding it out to people, but like, are enough people out in the wild doing it that's become accepted now or not, and like,
So. I went to a fancy Japanese restaurant, and it was really sweet. For every course, they assumed that we didn't speak Japanese because my husband's white. I don't look Japanese, even though I look Asian. I don't look Japanese. And so what they did was, like, after every course, they would actually use, I think they were using iPhones, which is fine, but they actually, translated what each course was to explain to us. So there is an acceptance, I think, for some people. Japan is an interesting case, but that, oh, hey, this is a way for us to kind of communicate to you if we have to. And I actually saw a train conductor talking to a lady who I believe was Shanghainese. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but they use Google Translate because he didn't speak English, and she didn't, of course, didn't speak Japanese.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, there's some, he spoke good Japanese and English, I'm sorry, and she only spoke her native language. So I heard Google Translate being used for this. So yes, absolutely, this would be great. And they actually had some difficulty. Like it took him a few tries, so it's possible that like a little more like help and like, hey, like being able to kind of have that live conversational aspect might help people even more. So yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, it's neat. I mean, it's definitely, I think this is a case where AI can help you and can help you, everybody go out there and go abroad. So,
Yeah,
good
connect
stuff.
with
Very
people.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right.
Sorry. My bad. I
No,
forgot.
you're bad.
I
No.
forgot. We have to thank patrons. I would be remiss if I didn't thank this week's patrons, and we want to thank Sylvan Rasico. Hopefully, I'm saying that correctly, and Daniel May for being our wonderful patrons and letting us do things like this, like talk at length about, I don't know, how we use Google and Android in the wild.
And that's a reminder that if you want to help support the show, head over to patreon.com/AndroidFaithful. You can sign up at various different levels. $10 a month unlocks the ad-free version of the podcast, so you don't have that pesky ads interrupting your listening enjoyment. And you can also get, we got stickers and t-shirts and stuff like that, depending on the various levels. So we thank everybody for their support. And if you're on the fence about signing up, go for it. Why not? Come on. It's almost tax time. You're gonna get a refund soon. So yeah, come on. Patreon.com/AndroidFaithful. Thank you so much. All right. So we got a lot more hardware to get through. We're going to take a quick break, and we come back. We're going to hear from Jason. All right. So, like I mentioned, today, nothing formally released, although we've already seen it, the Nothing 3A. Jason, the fine folks at Nothing were able to hook Jason up and get him the phone in advance. So he was able to record a little hands-on preview for it. So we're going to check that out right now. Here we go.
Hey, Android Faithful crew, it's me, Jason Howell, not in the studio or in the recording of the podcast. Obviously, I'm not there with you because I'm in Barcelona, but actually I'm also not because I recorded this before going to Barcelona. I know it's very confusing, but anyways, the reason that I'm here is because before leaving for Barcelona, where I actually am right now while you're watching this, I got something in the mail, and it's pretty exciting, pretty interesting. Actually, I got two somethings in the mail, and those somethings are nothings. That's the new Nothing phones, the Nothing 3A, which is in my left hand right here, the wider version, and then the 3A Pro, which is in my right hand. And so I thought I'd give you just a real quick look at what these devices are all about because Nothing has unveiled their somethings. And so what do we have here? So first of all, we'll start with the 3A. This is the Nothing 3A, the Nothing Phone 3A anyways. $379 here in the US for this device. You can see I just got them and I haven't even set them up yet. What can I tell you about this? So 6.77 inch AMOLED full HD plus display, 120 hertz. So you've got that adaptive refresh. Also an in-display fingerprint sensor, which once I have this all set up, I'll be able to actually use. Underneath the hood, Snapdragon 7S Gen 3 processor, because this is a kind of a lower cost device, as the A series usually is for the Nothing brand. 8 or 12 gig RAM configurations, 128 or 256 gig storage configurations. You can see we've got 3 cameras up here. One of them is a 50 megapixel f1.88 main lens with optical image stabilization. Got a 50 megapixel 2x optical lens, so you do have a nice optical stretch there. And actually, Nothing touts 4x lossless, so cropping into the 2x, you won't see any difference at all for the most part going up to 4x, so that's nice. 8 megapixel ultra wide, so not the the highest quality ultra wide, but I plan on testing that out to see what it's all about. And then of course up on the front up here you've got the hole punch, which I can show off right there. It's a 32 megapixel front facing camera. Underneath, 5,000 milliamp hour battery, 50 watt wired charging. I do not believe that this supports wireless, and IP64 rated for dust and water protection. You can see, it's kind of bright in my studio, but you can see the transparent design that Nothing is really known for at this point, obviously, and I'll get to the Pro in a second. Doing the circular up here, yes, there are glyphs that I don't have lit up right now, but 3 different glyph areas around the camera housing. Something important to note is, on this side, we've got our volume rocker, right? On the other side, we've got our power button. And then what is this? An extra button. What the heck is that? This is the essential space key on the side. And so this is kind of an AI interaction button. You would press to capture, say, notes or ideas, something like that. You could long press and you could record a voice note at just by long pressing, and then double tapping will actually take you to the content in the UI that's stored there. And again, my apologies, I don't have this all set up. I only had the time to kind of unbox it and show off the hardware real quick, but that's to give you a teaser ahead of what to look forward to there. So that's the essential space key. Very curious about that. And yes, that does exist on the other phone that I got from nothing, the phone 3A Pro. There's the essential space key. Of course, it's shiny to let you know it's Pro and everything. But, really so much of the Pro is almost identical to what we have with the standard 3A. There are some differences. So same display, same processor, the Snapdragon 7S Gen 3, same RAM and storage configurations. It does have on the back, the cameras, but they are a little bit different. You've got a periscope lens, which is the main difference here, 50 megapixel periscope 3x optical lens. And so that's 3x optical, but you can crop into that and you get 6x lossless extension out of that. So that's really nice. If you like, if you like your telephoto the way I do, I imagine I'm going to be playing around with that and I'm going to be pretty happy. So I'm excited to play around with that. And then the main camera back here is a dual pixel phase detection autofocus versus kind of the single pixel phase detection autofocus on the 3A. So that's a bit of a difference. And then up on the front is, even though it seems like it would be the same from a specs perspective, it's not actually. It's 32 megapixel on the 3A, and here you get a 50 megapixel. So it's a little bit of an upgrade there. It's a different type of sensor. Otherwise, same battery, 5,000 milliamp hours, 50 watts charging, wired, and IP64. And of course, one of the big differences that a lot of people have been calling out on the Pro is the very kind of different kind of protruding camera bump. And yeah, I got to say, in person, it's taken me a little getting used to, because it does kind of seem like someone just stuck a puck on the back of my phone. You know what I mean? It kind of looks like I could twist it off and remove it. Of course I can't. I can't do that easily anyways. But anyways, it's a design that definitely has a little bit of a different quality to it. Nothing is really good at making designs that stand out, that stand on their own, and that look unlike anything else that you see on the market. And so the 3A Pro, by the way, $459 versus $379 for the 3A. And that's what we got right there. Those two devices sent to me from nothing. Surely we're going to be talking about them a lot more on Android Faithful. I'm curious to hear what Huyen and Ron think of these devices. So I'm going to throw it back over to you guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Ron, you're muted.
Thank you, Jason, for throwing it back to us. We really appreciate that. So Huyen, what do you think of the Nothing phones now that they're out in the wild?
Honestly, I really enjoy them. I really do. I think every iteration, every series that they put out, I start to really like what they're doing more and more. Because when we first heard about it, it was like this kind of like quirky thing, right? And they were like advertising on like fashion runways and things like that, right?
Yep.
But I really like the way they're going. And it's so funny because this weekend I think I saw an article about how some set of designers hate the new design, especially the bump, like the one with like the Borg bump, how much people hate it. I honestly love the crap out of it. You know what I mean? Like, I think they're definitely developing a distinctive style. I honestly love how outrageous this bump is, just because, again, distinctiveness and just trying something new. And I love that we sort of called it with the AI button, because, I mean, I guess it wasn't that hard of a guess that everyone's into AI these days, but I actually really like the way that Jason described it working as being not just kind of like a unilateral, like, hey, turn on your assistant, but as a dedicated interaction button. I think that's actually pretty interesting for sure.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody knows how I feel about phones. The sameness that has plagued this industry for
Yes.
so long. And I love that we can have something that looks different, that stands out, whether or not you like the aesthetic or not, the see-through aesthetic and the lines and all this sort of stuff. I think it's better than for me, like I don't like the aesthetic of Samsung phones, like the blank canvas of the back of the phone with just the holes and that sort of thing. So yeah, I think these are a great entry. I think they're trying to innovate in places in a space that it's hard to innovate in. So you got the telescope, the periscope lens, and like doing different things with the camera system. I think the bump is fine. If we're fine with the bump on a OnePlus, that circle bump, then you got to be fine with that bump on a nothing, right? And so
Yeah.
so
It just looks a little different. And
yeah, exactly.
I love that these, like, sorry, I missed, what was the price again on both of these?
$499, I think. I forget. I don't have it in front of me, but yeah. But
So still technically mid-range. Like,
yeah,
I
affordable.
love that nothing is playing so much in the mid-range, because we
Yeah.
love mid-range around here, and that is, I think, primary. Like, I forgot the stat that I saw, that even though premiumization and flagship phones being a huge priority for OEMs is a thing, a lot of us love the mid-range. So I just love that OnePlus in particular is like playing in this range a lot.
Yeah,
Like, good for them.
Me too. I'd love to get my hands on these and play with them. So we'll see.
100%. 100%.
Well, speaking of a camera bump and a circular camera section, Mishaal was able to spend some time with the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. And before he headed off to Barcelona, he shared his review with us. So let's see what Mishaal thinks of the Xiaomi.
Hey Android Faithful fam, so I've been using the Xiaomi 15 Ultra as my daily driver phone for the past month, and I've been absolutely loving my time with the device. My favorite thing about it is just its design, which I think nails the look of a classic camera with its dual tone back. You have this silver chrome lining up top, which is above the black faux leather section, and you have the horizontal Xiaomi, Leica, and the Ultra logo that just with along with the camera ring on the side, give it that classic camera look and feel. It's been a while since someone's actually stopped me to ask what phone I had, and that actually happened to me a few weeks ago when I went to an antique store. The design just stands out that much. And yes, it feels great to hold as well. The chrome lining feels smooth, while the leather adds a nice bit of grip on the bottom. It's almost a shame to put this phone in a case, but luckily the case that comes with the optional photography kit is quite nice. I do have a separate video showing off the photography kit in full and all the nice perks that it brings, but basically what it does is you snap the phone into this case, which I'm not going to do right now because it's kind of a pain to get it in and out because it's so tightly put on. And then you attach the phone into this grip, and then it slots in, and then basically you have this classic camera setup right here. You have a shutter button, you have a zoom lever, you have exposure slider, you have a video record button. It's quite nice, and you also have this wrist strap, pass-through charging, and also functions as a power bank. A lot of stuff to look forward to, but it's optional. Doesn't come with the device itself. So back to the device itself, I'm going to switch over to my top-down camera. Back to the phone, I think Xiaomi nailed the camera on the 15 Ultra. It has a 1-inch 50 megapixel main sensor, a 50 megapixel 3x telephoto camera that's great for portrait shots, and a beastly 200 megapixel 4.3x periscopic telephoto camera, alongside a 50 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, and a 32 megapixel front facing selfie camera. It also has Xiaomi's latest AISP 2.0 algorithms, its Leica image tuning and lenses, the Leica logo right here, and much more. Basically, when it comes to the camera, there's just no compromises to speak of. I took a bunch of photos and videos with the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. These are just some of my favorite ones, like some portrait shots here. Just look at how detailed the photos of these ducks are, especially as I start zooming in. And of course, these are Ultra HDR, so being processed through this webcam right now, you're not getting the full detail, but I'll share the raw image files, in an album that you can look at yourself. Just in general, um, colors are super vibrant. I am using the Xiaomi, the Leica Vibrant preset, which is probably contributing to that. So, if you want to see the kind of photos this can take, I highly recommend you check out the full gallery that I shared. Even at night, pretty good photos. Yeah, I mean, obviously this is a smartphone. It's top tier flagship smartphone. There's more to it than just this big camera bump, which is pretty chunky. As you can see, it's a pretty big camera bump. It also has a great display, which is 6.73-inch Quad HD resolution OLED panel, reaches a max brightness of 3200 nits, and it has a 120 Hz refresh rate with multiple eye care features like this reading mode, a 1920 Hz DC dimming support, and Xiaomi's finally also started to equip its phones with an ultrasonic rather than optical under display fingerprint scanner, which I think is really nice because it's fast and also even works in the dark without having to light up the pixels around it. Under the hood, it's powered by the Snapdragon 8 Elite, 16 gigabytes of memory, and up to 1 terabyte of storage. I haven't done any benchmarks on this because I've used other 8 Elite phones in the past and they've been out for months now, but I haven't noticed any slowdowns or hiccups during my time with the 15 Ultra. Other things that I like about it are its speakers, its support for wired and wireless fast charging. I believe 90-watt wired and 50-watt wireless, but you need the proprietary Xiaomi wireless charger to take advantage of that 50-watt. And also the 90-watt, you also need their hypercharge charger to take advantage of that. It has a large 5410 milliamp hour battery that has easily lasted me the full day this whole past month. And to my surprise, I also kind of like HyperOS 2.0. I was kind of surprised by that because when I tried it on the Xiaomi 14T Pro, it was there were a lot of bugs, but I haven't encountered many software bugs while using the 15 Ultra. Like there's seldom some bugs where the rotation will get stuck in an app. I guess the settings app doesn't rotate, but like there are some apps where it just gets locked in landscape mode for some reason, but that's seldom and doesn't happen that often. The new software features are nice. You have Gemini support out of the box, like long press and hold the power key, circle to search support. You also have a whole bunch of AI features in the gallery app. So like if I just click edit, go AI, there's all these features. Like you have this enhance mode, expand, erase, remove reflection, sky removal, and all these can be managed by like plugins. You just download some plugins and you get access to all these features. There are also some like AI writing tools that you can use. They allow you to summarize, expand, polish, proofread, etc. And there's also some speech recognition, recorder related stuff, interpreter, subtitles. I haven't really used a lot of those features, but I do know. Let me show you quickly. If I open Keep, right? So like, here's the script for this. One cool thing is you don't have to be using the Xiaomi their Notes app to take advantage of the AI writing tools. It's here in the context menu when you select text. So I can just select that text and click summarize. This is not being run on device. This is being run through a cloud model. I believe some Google Cloud model, AI large language model being run in the cloud. But the phone does support Google's multimodal Gemini Nano large language model, which is the same one that's found on the Pixel 9. Well, I guess I selected too much text here to summarize. But yeah, if you find this kind of stuff useful, maybe let's see, let's try this one right here. Select all and professional. Let's see what happens. There's a lot of just cool features that you can play around with. Oh, you're finished proofreading. Xiaomi 15 Ultra is a highly impressive phone. I didn't give it much to work with, but there's an example of it working right there. Overall, I think it's just a really lovely phone. It's one of the few phones that I think truly deserves to be called Ultra, even though it's a slab phone. I mean, speaking of which, I never really agreed with the general idea of slab phones being boring. I mean, you can't just look at a phone like this and call it uninspired. Like, this is a really unique design. It really, screams that nostalgia within you about like the classic camera look, which is why I'm probably going to keep this around as my dedicated camera phone from now on, especially because with this photography kit, it's not only fun to use, but it genuinely makes it easier to use as an actual camera. So I'm probably going to be using it as like my dedicated product photography device from now on. Unfortunately, it's a dang shame that this phone won't be coming to the US. And it's also a shame that it's probably going to be very pricey. I mean, I'm assuming it is, because at the time of this recording, Xiaomi hasn't shared the pricing with me yet. The Xiaomi 14 Ultra, for comparison, costs 14.99 euros. So I'm assuming the 15 Ultra will be close to that. Ron and Huyen will correct me if I'm wrong. Xiaomi boasts that the 15 Ultra is IP68 rated, and it's quite durable thanks to its aluminum frame and its proprietary shield glass protector on the front. But I haven't tested the durability myself. I mean, I sure hope it's durable, because you're going to pay a pretty penny to replace it if it breaks. So why even bother with the 15 Ultra, considering you can probably find a dedicated camera with a better image sensor and even some lenses at this price? Well, you have to remember that this is also a top-tier flagship phone, which means you can also text with it, edit photos on it, game on it, post to social media with it, and just do so much more than you can with a dedicated camera. For casual photographers with a decent budget, I think the Xiaomi 15 Ultra is a pretty compelling offer.
All right. Thanks, Mishaal, for that. Good to check in. That phone looks so good. I every time I see it, I think it's like, that is a phone I wish I could have.
Ditto. Yeah, I actually looked it up. So the way I get my previous phones when I was in Japan was by using Japanese Amazon, and they do have the Xiaomi 14 Ultra on there with the photography kit. So yeah, I'd be tempted to pick this up if it's available in September when I go again. But
So for our audio listeners, the photography kit that Mishaal mentioned, I don't think he described it. It's actually a case that snaps onto the phone,
Right.
and the camera bump goes through a hole, and then there's also a grip and a shutter button and stuff. It basically turns it into a digital camera, which I think which is so cool, right? And it gives you, like, it shows that the focus of this thing, is meant to be around the camera experience. Of course, with the Leica lens, that's no surprise, and all that fun stuff. So, if you're super into photography, this is like this would do so well here if it was available here.
I know so many Leica enthusiasts. Actually, friend of the show, Rahman, an OG Androider, I believe was using Leica quite a bit for a long time. I don't know what he's using now, but it is 100% like, and we talked about it before, but the styling of the phone, when you turn it on its side, it has that silver top that very much looks like a traditional, enthusiast camera. And going back to the grip is amazing. Like, again, you don't have to use the grip with a phone, but there's like a slot where it slots in. And the fact that it turns, your phone into a legit camera, because it has, as Mishaal described, 4 or 5 physical buttons, sliders, levers that really bring in that camera feel. And the fact that it hooks in and works with the camera is amazing. Like, this is a camera as much as it is a phone, for realsies. Like, it's my only wish is that the case continued that silver top styling.
The case themselves goes for a black and red kind of highlight, and in the camera kit, actually it's black with a red top and a red highlight around the thing.
But not as explicitly camera. Like, it doesn't explicitly look like a camera, other than the fact that it has like a whole grip. It just doesn't have that kind of, like, let's say, a couple centimeters at the top. It's silver, just like traditional cameras are. But it's still a beautiful case. This is
don't get me wrong. The two-tone look of it without the case is classy. The red tone, the red highlight camera case makes it look like a camera. It makes it looks cool. Like, it looked like I like red. That's awesome. So the Xiaomi 15 Ultra itself on their website is listed for $12.99. Is that pounds? Yeah, that's pounds, right?
Yeah,
that's in British. Yeah, so £12.99, and then the camera kit itself, the camera expansion kit sells for £179, which is roughly, I don't know what the exchange rate is on that these days, but let's see.
I think there's a battery in the handle too.
There is, yeah.
That's amazing. That's
so this
cool.
So the phone itself is over $1,600.
Yeah.
And the camera kit itself is about $227.
So not cheap.
Yeah, not cheap at all, but still pretty cool. Well,
I think it's cheaper than I could be wrong. I think it's cheaper than most Leica phones, and you also get a smartphone with it too, so you get a 2-for-1. So I know that's a lot of money, but for what it's worth, if you can get it, I'm sure if you're a photography enthusiast and you live in a region where you get this, I can't imagine you wouldn't have a great time with it. It's a beautiful phone.
Yeah, so cool. So awesome. Glad Mishaal got that review in for us.
100%.
But we got more hardware news coming, right?
Oh my gosh. Okay, we're going to go back down to mid-range. So if you are an A series fan, well, let me be specific because there's a lot of A series out there. If you're a Galaxy A series fan, I think you'll like looking at what Android Authority refers to as the mid-range maxed out. So Samsung has revealed their latest in the A series, the A26, the A36, and the A56. So these range in price, with the 26 being the most budget phone, we'll call it, at $300 USD. It's actually some price with tons of nines in it, but I'm going to round up. It is 300. So the A26 is $300. The A36 is $400, and the A56 is $500. So you definitely got a good selection of your mid-range prices there. And so just as a caveat, if you're in the US, as I assume many of our listeners are, we will definitely be getting the A26 on March 28th. And definitely be getting the A36 on March 26th. The high mid-range, the A56, is coming, quote, later this year, probably not till Q3. However, if you are one of our UK listeners, y'all are lucky because you're going to get all three, A26, A36, and A56, starting March 19th, and also with different RAM storage configurations. So if you're already interested, that's what you got to look forward to. Now, these three models are excellent. You know, they, in terms of like looks, they look amazing. The look this year, you know, for the A series is not the three separate camera modules as you would see typically on the S series. You've got a vertical bar though, which integrates all three cameras. But these three models are actually, to give it credit, and I say this with a lot of affection and praise, is that all three models are pretty similar. They all have Gorilla Glass Victus Plus on the front and the back. All of the models have IP67 water resistance, which I think is new for their lowest end model, but I could be wrong about that. Each phone has a not insignificant 5,000 milliamp battery, and all of them will come with One UI 7 out of the box. All of them get the now kind of more typical extended support cycle of 6 major OS updates and 6 years of security upgrades, which is awesome. They all get Circle to Search. They all get your Samsung Knox security features. Now, they do differ in just a few ways with different specs. The charging, for example. So the 36 and the 56 both support 45-watt charging. The 26 is a little bit slower at 25 watts. Let's see. The cameras are a little bit different. So the 36 and 56 are super similar. They both have a 15 megapixel main camera, f1.8 with OIS. The 56 has a 12 megapixel ultra wide lens. The Galaxy A36 has an 8 megapixel ultra wide lens. They both have a macro camera at 5 megapixels, and they both have a 12 megapixel selfie camera that is capable of 10-bit HDR. Wow. And other than that, they're very similar. The screens on all three of these are basically the same. They're all 6.7 inches, Super AMOLED, FHD+, 120 refresh rate. The 36 and 56 have an additional 1200 nits brightness, and the 56 is a little bit larger. Like 3 grams larger, and like, let me think, like a millimeter here or there between the two of them. The other things that have been kind of, I guess, compromised or have been, I guess, budgetized, if that's a word, for the A26 include the the cameras. So the selfie camera, the macro camera is only 2 megapixels. The selfie camera is 13 megapixels, so technically a little bit higher resolution, but it doesn't have that 10-bit HDR, so that's important to you. That's a thing. It does have the slower charging, and the storage options are a little bit different. It does have a micro SD up to two terabytes. So if you're like a big fan of like extended storage, that actually might.
And people do love the SD card storage.
They do.
That's one of the things. A lot of people lament that going out of style on other phones as being a major issue, but Samsung's keeping the dream alive. So
that actually, I was kind of surprised reading that, because I know, again, as you said, so I was like, oh, well, that might actually be a leg up on the A26 if you really care about your micro SD storage up to 2 terabytes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very, very similar. It's really hard to define, a strong, a strong demarcation line between the must buy or less must buy. It's all about what's important to you between price, between the cameras.
I mean, these give a lot of options at various mid-range price points, right?
Yeah,
so if you're looking to save money, you're going to get a decent phone with the 26, but if you got a little more money to spend, you can get an even better phone with the 56, right? So,
yeah, exactly. You have a lot of options. I give a lot of these are wonderful specs. The fact that they are so similar, I think, is again a credit. You'll get various so if you're curious about the processors, the 56, the highest end one, has the Exynos 1580. The A36 switches it up and has a Snapdragon 6 Gen 3, and then for the 26 you're getting a previous version of Exynos 1380. So they're all really great. They're beautiful. They have different colorways.
I was gonna say the colorways, the 26 comes in black, white, mint, and peach pink. The 36 comes in awesome lavender, awesome black, awesome white, and or awesome lime.
I could not. So yeah.
The 56 comes in awesome light gray, awesome graphite, awesome olive, or awesome pink.
The lime, by the way, is exclusive to Best Buy. So if you really feeling the need for some awesome lime, I want to drink some Gatorade for some reason. I don't know why.
What I want to know is what happened to the 46.
I don't know.
Why does
question. Why
does it go from 26 to 36 to 40 to 56? What is going on with the Samsung Galaxy A46?
I don't know. That's a really great question.
Yeah.
Where did it go?
Yeah.
If you are more of like a photography person, you might want to prefer the A56. It does have it has exclusive camera features like best face. We all like to put our best face forwards, but if you want best face and enhanced nightography, pick the A56. But again, lots of choice, lots of good price range in here, from the low mid to the high mid. This is the words we use these days: low mid, high mid. But yeah. Samsung definitely killing it at the mid-range.
And those were rolled out at Mobile World Congress, right? Like that
yes.
is,
Yes.
So great to see. There's so much going on. And in fact, we're going to hear from Jason from Barcelona right now. So tuning in, Jason.
Ron, hey, Huyen. I'm out on a balcony here in Barcelona on a patio taking a look at TCL's products. They have hardware that we've already heard about, but availability and pricing on some of it. But I'm here primarily because we have talked so much on the show about NextPaper technology, right? Which is essentially, it's kind of like an e-ink display, but it's not actually e-ink. And you can kind of see the like anti-reflective quality of this display. It also has a certain bit of texture to it, kind of like paper, which is part of their selling point for NextPaper technology. This is the 60 XE NextPaper 5G smartphone. This actually has NextPaper 3.0 technology. There is 4.0, that's on a tablet in the other room, but I think this is, kind of the more accessible version of this. Not an expensive device, $325 Canadian. It's going to be available May 2025. That's kind of the bit of new information. And when it comes to NextPaper, you can kind of see on the side, there's a little switch right here. If I flick that up, I get a little menu, which is all of the different kind of display modes that this can run in. And so if I, am in normal mode and I want to go to color paper mode, I'll go ahead and select that and enter the mode. And you see it kind of transitions. You hear a little pleasant sound, and it goes into the alternate mode. There is a little bit of color in this mode. It's your full Android running, but with a different kind of display approach. Ink paper mode, which is truly black and white. And it transitions again, goes black and white again. The UI is exactly as you expect. Things are simplified, but a little easier on the eyes to look at. You get that blue light filtering, which is going to reduce eye strain. And then there is one more mode that you can, I would probably mute that at some point. One more mode that you can fly into, which is Max Ink mode. This is meant to really replicate what you get out of like an e-reader experience. And this actually is a ramped down version. You don't have your app drawer. This only has a certain number of key apps. You can't even go into your notifications or anything like that. It's really ramped down, meant for battery life. I think you can see it right up there at the top, how much battery you have out of this. And yeah, it's got, a couple of cameras on the back and everything like that. But really, you're getting this because of NextPaper, which I gotta say in person is oh, the volume rocker on the side. I'll go ahead and use that. I hope you like this. I hope you get to see NextPaper with your eyeballs someday soon.
Well, thank you, Jason. What he didn't mention was the battery life when it was on the e-ink version. It was 60. It was something like 60 hours or something like that. It was crazy. It was very, very high because you're not using a lot of energy there with the e-ink. That's cool. It's good to see it hands-on. Good to finally get pricing for it. And if you're looking for an e-paper, kind of experience, that's a cool looking phone. I like the transition to the modes was so cool.
Yeah, it kind of like, it's like the black, when you turn on like the more restrictive modes, it's like the black and white kind of almost soaks in and then kind of spreads out, kind of like, I'd say a stain, but that's kind of negative. But yeah, like it's like the color, like it's like almost like the e-ink kind of bleeds out and brings you into the e-ink world.
It reminds me of the transition in that late 90s movie Pleasantville, where like it played with the 1950s kind of black and white kind of thing, where like it goes from color and then it kind of disperses from the center out and goes black and white. It's a very good transition.
100%. I didn't realize how many finite modes there were.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of, there's almost an overwhelming amount. I pause like a compliment. Overwhelming amount of modes in this phone, from full smartphone to really truly e-inky, e-inky experience. That's really cool.
Yeah, very cool. So yeah, thank you, Jason, for sending in from Barcelona. Unfortunately, we didn't get any video from Mishaal in Barcelona, but I didn't want him to be left out. And so Mishaal posted over to his social media the various Android bug droids that are out and about at Mobile World Congress. Very versatile paint jobs that they do with the little bug droid statues out there. So at Mobile World Congress, it's called Android Avenue between halls 2 and 3, where Google has a bunch of different bug droids hanging out. And there's the Google people in their beige parkas. I guess it's cold there at Barcelona. They're outside. But it's neat to see. Yeah, there's a McLaren Android bug droid.
He's a droid that works in the pit because he's got the headphones. He's got like the pit crew jacket. It's really cool.
Very
and then
cool.
there was
an ice cream. Yeah, where the body is a waffle cone and the head was a blue ice cream with sprinkles. There was one that's all a bunch of different pastel colors to promote Gemini. And then Mishaal posed there with a green bug droid holding a Gemini-shaped Google colored balloon.
It looks like the Gemini diamond, but as a balloon. Amazing. Amazing.
Very cool. So I'm glad they're having fun at Mobile World Congress. I'm sure we're going to do a whole breakdown on what they saw and stuff like that next week, so stay tuned. But stay tuned again, because we're going to take a quick break. And we come back, we got more hardware for you. All right, Huyen, so lots of foldables to talk about.
Lots of foldables. So we've got a leaky peeky on what the Samsung Flip, the Flip 7 will look like this time. Not a lot of detail. And it's okay because, to be fair, it's a lot of the same. So we did talk about how the Fold does look like it's making some leaps in terms of like form factor and thinness and trying to push the design forward. The Flip 7 is definitely, I mean, to be fair, just as many years, is at least a iterative improvement. It's a little bit bigger, a little less creasy. So if the leaks on, and Android Headlines had an exclusive like CAD render leak as they do, if the leaks are to believed, or the CADs are to believed, the cover display is going to be 3.6 inches. Now this is up from 3.4 inches on the Flip 6, so not a shabby increase. The inner display, when unfolded, will be 6.8 inches. That is up from 6.7 inches on the Flip 6. And the crease reportedly is, quote, significantly less visible, though not completely eliminated. And just overall, it's a little bit bigger. And because we can't help but talk about thickness this year, because what's the opposite of down with the thickness? Up with the thickness? Up with the thickness. The anti-thick. I guess down with the thickness. So yeah, down with the thickness, because the Flip 6 is 9.1 millimeters thick with the camera bump, which is, not insignificant. Not as big as, say, the Nothing, but there's something there. It's got bumps. So the camera system has a similar dual camera setup, and it has the same, cutout on the cover screen that allowed for them. So the cover screen has a kind of like, I guess, indented bezel that has a 50 megapixel primary sensor and a 12 megapixel ultra wide. Where the guess is that these sensors are upgraded, even though most of the specifications are the same. And in terms of performance, again, unchanged from this Flip 6, we're looking to see 12 gigabytes of RAM, 256 or 512 gigabytes of storage. And the processor actually, the leaky peekies don't have a good looky-loo yet, because there seems to be some concern about the yield rate of Exynos, how many SoCs they get per wafer. So we're not sure yet whether they're going to go with Snapdragon or the Exynos 2500. The price is not changed, which I have feelings about. Just like the last several years, the Galaxy Flip whatever is $1099. And we're looking to see it come out July 2025, of course, along with its older sibling or bigger sibling, the Fold 7.
Yeah, I mean, I guess not a lot surprise here. I just wish Samsung would take a little more risks than it seems like they're getting the slow and steady wins the race, or they're just getting a little thinner, a little bigger, a little better, a little, or versus we changed the whole look of it. But I guess that front screen is as big as it's going to get with the camera system, and it is what it is, right?
It is what it is. It is worth noting that if these specs are to be believed, if that matters to you, the Motorola Razr Plus 2024 still has a larger cover screen than this one will have. So if you are a person who wants your biggest cover display, the Flip is still not going to be it. But of course, your mileage might vary on that. But if you want a really, really, really cool Flip style foldable, well, we got a concept for you.
And we've been talking about trifold foldables and the different paradigms and the approaches to, obviously we saw the Huawei Mate XT, which Mishaal, he did let us know that he got hands on with that at Mobile World Congress. So very excited to hear what he thinks of it. But that was the more Pixel Fold, one open just with a third screen, and then we've heard rumors of other approaches. So I'm dying for your response to this next one.
So this is really, really cool. This is the Infinix. So Infinix is an OEM that has been doing flip phones. They had their actually Zero Flip last year. So they only presented renders and concept images so far, but they have a concept for a mini trifold phone. And I guess imagine a regular flip phone, but with just one more hinge piece that flips in the other direction. Now, when unfolded, this concept does fold out into a extra tall, extra long candy bar style phone. But you should be able to say fold the front third down, and then you'll fold I believe the bottom third back.
Yep.
And so we don't have a lot of concrete dimensions or specs, but they're showing a lot of very interesting usages of this flip phone. So
and to further clarify, just for audio listeners, so imagine a very long regular phone with two creases.
Yes, two creases.
So about a third, and a third, and that enables it to fold into a little box that is the size of a third. It's at its most thickness. It's it is the size of 2/3 of the phone stacked on top of each other, but it makes it very small at that point.
Very, very small. It's definitely smaller than a flip phone that we've seen now. And yeah, so as the book style foldables fold vertically, this is again just going with the flip style of horizontal folds. What I love about this is that what they want to do is maybe show a flip phone being used in different ways. So I think what's super interesting is that even now with flips and folds, a lot of kind of what's interesting about them is you can actually use that folding physicality to say, have your foldables be their own tripods. So the Infinix concept phone takes us a bit further and actually imagines the flippable as something of an action camera or more of a wearable, where it shows you, for example, having
Like
a backpack mount, which they have now. Like if you're a GoPro fan or like a DJI fan, and you kind of often wear your action cameras on like a strap on your backpack, that's one of the concepts that Infinix is showing, having a backpack mount.
It reminds me of like a cop body cam.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, that too.
Yeah.
And you would mount it vertically. So there are two cameras. So that the concept shows two cameras on the outside, not too dissimilar to most of your flip phones. But you would wear the Infinix vertically, so you would tip it over into the side, and so it looks just like any other action-y camera, like kind of mounted on your backpack. It even shows a concept of someone riding a bike with, again, in the action bar style, having the Infinix slightly open so that 2/3 of the screen are like shown to the rider, and the other third where the cameras are facing out front. So instead of having a GoPro, you have your little Infinix there, and I love this.
Or in this case, what it looks like here in the example, so it's from the point of view of someone riding the bike, and the phone is attached to the handlebar of the bike and folded up with the camera showing you like what the person sees, but then also the lower portion of the camera is the map.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like it's a navigation tool. Like that's pretty cool. Like it's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They even, I mean, we only have limited pictures that we can see, but apparently they also showed things like, well, they mentioned that they want to develop a, quote, innovative strap accessory, probably outside, maybe even wearing it on your wrist, maybe. And they wanted to say have certain mounts that would allow you to, say, mount it on gym equipment so you can film yourself, which is a whole discussion in and of itself, but that's pretty cool. Maybe even using it on your car dashboard. I don't know if they intend for it to be a replacement for dash cams now, and again, like bag straps. So I love this. This is all conceptual. This is all, I think, them maybe polling for interest, seeing what the reaction is. But I honestly freaking love this. I think this is amazing because, again, the thing that I've loved about foldables is just that the extra physical capability that you get when your phone kind of folds. And I think Infinix is trying to run with this. And
that's great. I mean, like showing different paradigms in foldables, and like to get a phone that folds down to 1/3 of the size of a standard phone is great for putting in your pocket or whatever it might be, or these different kind of attachments. It's clever. Who knows what's inside? Who knows what those cameras are like, what the processors are like? But we're probably at a point now, they're all running the Snapdragon 8 Elite or whatever. Like they're all running the same chip. I got to imagine at some point there's a sameness on the inside of the guts, and it's just how can we innovate around the displays. So it's pretty cool.
Which is exciting. Again, we're BITCHing ING here about sameness and but even with foldables, even though they're very niche still, it's been feeling kind of samey. So Infinix, good job. Send me one if you actually make it, please, because I think this is really fun and really innovative. Please check out if this sounds vaguely interesting to you, and especially if you're someone who does do action cam stuff, whether you're an active person, a gym person, take a look at the concepts and let us know what you think, because I'm actually really excited.
Yeah. So it's very cool. And it looks like, the foldable space is a place for a lot of innovation, but we've also seen innovation in and around the thickness of phones, and you referred to that.
Down with the thickness.
And so I know last week we talked about the Samsung Galaxy S25 Edge, and we saw some renders of that. More coming out of Mobile World Congress. It looks as if our good friends Techno, our favorite phone company that we've never held a phone from, because again, Techno is a brand that's available in developing countries, available in Africa and India and things like that. But they've got a new phone that we got a glimpse of it, the Techno Spark Slim, giving the Samsung Galaxy S25 a run for its money, the Samsung Galaxy S25 Edge a run for its money. They're claiming at 5.75 millimeters, it is the industry's slimmest phone with a 5200 milliamp battery. I don't know how they're able to do that in this, but so this is a concept phone. We have no idea if they're actually going to make it or not. But in terms of comparing it against the S25 Edge or the other Oppo phones or things like that, they're claiming they've got it down to 5.75 millimeters with a 5200 milliamp battery. So we'll see if that's true or not. But wow, that is a thin phone. And the thing about this is that it's so thin that there is a camera bump. So it goes to the very top of the edge. You see a little kind of dimple going up. We're only seeing a side profile of it in the image that they shared. So we don't know what the full, kind of the width of of it looks like or anything like that, but it looks hella thin. So
It is. And I
pretty
think it's
wild.
just so interesting because, again, as Techno is a manufacturer that focuses on emerging markets, I think sometimes maybe there's like a little bias against emerging markets as having like a certain kind of phone, like budgety phones. But I think this goes to show that especially Techno really is providing like, I think high end, like the specs, the goals, like the cool things that are in like high end phones here in more like developed parts of the world. They're kind of spreading the love and the wealth around to all, like we can make a budget phone that is sexy, that is slim, that is all the things that you get on your flagship phones, and I love that so much.
Pretty cool. Very, very good stuff. So, all right. Well, so it's been a very hardware laden time, but there's been a little app news, right?
A little bit.
And talking about like heads up displays, right? With that bicycle experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you like Waze, and if you happen to be someone who is a BMW driver, certain Ford vehicles, or Volvo Polestar, you might be getting some additional functionality and some heads uppiness in your Waze app. So this feature, if you have like an EV, for example, you know, a lot of, or any kind of car, actually, rather, it doesn't have to be EV. I have one in my Subaru, but you know, a lot of like the smart display, your Android Auto is all in that infotainment center that's slightly to the side. That's not always in your field of view. You kind of have to like make a quick little look when you're driving. So a lot of manufacturers have been experimenting with replacing the traditional analog physical instrumentation cluster behind the wheel with displays. So it on vehicles at BMW, Ford, and Volvo and Polestar, they're actually allowing Waze to have its navigation data be displayed on their models that have replaced that instrument cluster with a physical not physical with the screen.
So I rented I rented a car recently, and I did one of those like Avis mystery cars where they're like, you'll get whatever we have. And they gave me like a pickup truck. And I was like, nope, I'm not driving a pickup truck. Sorry, I was in LA. I'm like, I got a parallel park. Like, nope. And so I went back and they gave me a Cadillac SUV, which was much more expensive than what I was paying for. And this Cadillac SUV had this technology, but with Google Maps. And I don't know, it wasn't serving Google Maps's, Chrome, like their UI, but it was the data, and right behind the steering wheel, instead of where normally we see the speed, I saw the map taking me on my route. So it was straight in my straight ahead field of view, which is very cool. And so it's neat to see this being expanded out to Waze. That's pretty awesome. So.
Yeah, especially if you like Waze. So what you'll be able to see, as Ron said, behind the steering wheel is actually your route, and you'll see, not too dissimilar if you watch Google Maps or watch Waze, your position, some distance ahead of you with different landmarks, and you'll have that right behind the wheel, so you don't have to, you'll be less distracted, and you'll be able to just kind of glance down rather than having to look to the side. And yeah, so it's in your line of sight. This is available on both, by the way, iOS and Android through CarPlay and Android Auto. And you'll actually have other, so that way also it helps just free up your infotainment for things like music control, the actual kind of like infotainment stuff, like your music,
and now with Android Auto, you can play games. So
oh gosh, well, I guess maybe the passenger can play games, and then the driver can now keep their eyes on the road. So there are a few limitations. This only shows maps and basic directions, and it doesn't yet support viewing or reporting road hazards, which makes a lot of sense because I assume that most the replacement instrument clusters don't really have much touch screening, because you really probably don't want to be reaching behind your steering wheel to touch the screen there. So that is a limitation. Also, if you're on a Polestar vehicle, this works through CarPlay, Android Auto, so it's actually separate from the native Waze app. But they've been testing it for several months now in beta, and it's going to start rolling out widely to different users, as confirmed by some reports on Reddit. But yeah, I just love this. It is nice to have all that additional information that we have now on our little infotainment. But again, safety first, non-distracted driving first. So I think it makes a lot of sense to start moving navigation to the heads-up display, the cluster now. So really cool. And for Waze, because I know people still love them some Waze. Now,
the really expensive cars have the little projection heads-up display
on
the windshield.
Which,
I can't wait till we get to that point.
Yeah,
that'd be so cool.
That'd be kind of cool. It's the future.
Excellent. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for apps. But we want to hear from you. We got a bunch of emails since last week's episode. And so we'll get right into it. Our first email comes in from Derek from Illinois, who says, "Hey, AF crew, I wanted to provide some insight into the made in China labeling issue that OnePlus is currently facing. And for those listeners, we talked about it last week. The OnePlus Watch 3 had an unfortunate typo on the printed text on the back of the phone, on the back of the watch, where it said they misspelled made, the word made. So Derek says, in last week's episode, there's some questions about why they would recall the product and push back the launch date. As an engineer for a company that manufactures products shipped worldwide, I can confirm that the made in China marking is legally required in many parts of the world. I'm not sure how customs officials around the world will handle the situation now that it's been discovered, but I could definitely see it causing problems. Overall, I feel like OnePlus is just hedging their bets and avoiding the issue. Thanks for a great show, Derek from Illinois. And thank you, Derek. Didn't know it was legally required. I wonder whether those legal restrictions allow for a typo or not. Where they're like, yeah, we know what you meant to say. But who knows? Anyway, thanks for clarifying that, Derek. We appreciate it.
Really appreciate it. That's good context.
Yep. All right. Well, when you got the next one?
I do, and this is from Michael. Hey, Android gang. I get most of my tech headlines from your show. Yay! Thank you, Michael. So I've had a Note 20 Ultra for 5 years. I've hung on to it because not only is it a great phone, but it's the last one Samsung gave an SD card slot to. See, people love their SD card slots. We love y'all. Got it. They took that feature away and it greatly annoyed me. Since I no longer get software updates, I thought it'd be time to upgrade. I've been looking forward to the S25 Ultra coming out. Then, after hearing your show, I discovered the S25 Ultra no longer has an S Pen. It just has a stylus now. I've been a long-time Galaxy user, but the two things I loved about Galaxies, SD card slots and the S Pen, are now gone. These were what made a Galaxy a Galaxy. Now it's just a smartphone that's not very different from the other ones on the market. I've now decided to wait and see if they bring back the S Pen for the S26 Ultra. If they do not, then I'm done supporting a company that constantly takes away features. I've long been curious about the OnePlus, especially after hearing your reviews on it and the OnePlus Watch 3. But it only comes in 512 gigabytes. And I want at least a 1 terabyte phone. So I'm considering trying a Google Pixel 9 Pro XL or getting the 10 next year. With 7 years of software updates and a 1 terabyte storage feature, it sounds like I may be ditching Samsung for Google. Thanks for keeping me updated on all this. I might not have known about Samsung's disappointing behavior otherwise. Love the show. Michael from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Is there anything worse than a disappointed customer? Like the sound of Michael's disappointment was just
it's so palatable, and it's a feeling that we're all familiar with, right? When we come to expect and rely on features, and then for whatever reason, right or wrong, companies take them away. And I could see Michael just kind of like holding on to his Samsungness just with one hand, and then they got rid of SD cards and he had just like one hand left, and now it's just like a little finger on the edge of a cliff, like, no, not my S Pen. Michael, much love and sympathy. Yes, agreed.
Well, I don't think they're bringing back the S Pen, by the way.
I don't. And if y'all forget, they basically removed Bluetooth support. So as Michael said, you have a pen, but it doesn't use the advanced features that Bluetooth enabled. It is, as he said, just a stylus. So, and actually, I looked up briefly. People are pissed.
Sure.
People are really pissed. Like, there's a lot of people that said that the S Pen. The S Pen being taken away is the deal breaker for them for Samsung. So, but I think Samsung says something like only 1% of users use the advanced gestures, but I don't know. It's just one of those things where, like, yeah, the users are small, but their feelings and their opinions are mighty. Yes. Or at least very strong. So
the vocal minority.
But said with much sympathy, because
yes, we understand. It always stinks when the thing you like goes away. But just like it stinks when the thing you like a podcast comes to an end. But that's where we are. It's been a great time doing this wonderful Mobile World Congress week, for sure, right? Hasn't it? I miss Jason and Mishaal, but I know they're having fun.
So we're holding down the fort here with y'all, and but we're glad to be here, and we're glad to be able to bring you a show, even though
Yep.
It might be a little less live than you're used to.
Exactly.
We're still here.
So where can people find you?
They can find me at my website, randomlytyping.com. I am, in fact, an Android developer. That's my day job. And you can find me talking about random stuff on Blue Sky at queencodemonkey.dev or lifting kettlebells at Instagram on Instagram at queencodemonkey.
All right. Excellent. And for me, you can follow me over at RonXO on the various social media platforms and things like that. But don't follow me. If you're on Instagram or any other social media, are you following us? That's the more important question. We're on Instagram at Android Faithful Podcast. We're on and that's where you can get all of our articles, links to our articles and fun artwork and things like that we do. And we're on Threads, we're on Mastodon, we're on Blue Sky, we're all over the place. So if you're on any social media platform, make sure you're following Android Faithful Podcast. We're pretty easy to find. Make sure you go to androidfaithful.com where you can read all the latest great news. Like we talked about the pixel drops and things like that. We're doing our best to get content up there as best we can. So,
yeah, but that's it for us this week on this slightly async, slightly pre-recorded week. But we will be back because this podcast publishes every Tuesday. You can, as Ron said, subscribe to us over at androidfaithful.com. But don't forget, if you're a Patreon person, subscribe to, or support us at patreon.com/androidfaithful and email us at contact@androidfaithful.com. And we will all be back with you in person live next week, and see you next time.